Thanks so much for checking out my video. As my first thumbnail intro suggested, I'm here to talk about Western Governor University and their Florida Nurse Practitioner program. So I guess I'll get right into it. I'm gonna try my best to be brief. I do tend to ramble, but I brought notes. I brought little notes so I can try and stay on task for the entirety of this brief video. I'll try my best. So I can just get into the main reasons why I even wanted to go to this program, because there are so many nurse practitioner programs out there that are online. But the main reasons that I went to this program because of, I did get my BSN from Western Governors University, and I really enjoyed that program. They should have paid me, honestly, for how much I told everyone about the program, how much I liked it. I really just thought it was a very straightforward and affordable way to get your BSN, which where I was at the time when I was in school and working, I was under, my little pin for my notes. I was under a lot of pressure from my job to get your BSN. You have to get your BSN. So I got my BSN and I was really happy with it. And then, everything happened. You guys remember that 2019, 2020, we don't have to talk about it. We don't got to talk about it. We're just gonna move on. But the main reasons, the top reasons why I picked it is because I did go to school there. I got my BSN there, so I was familiar with their papers, which are, if you're not a paper person, this is like essay style, still APA format, but you're just answering each topic at a time. I was a fan. They're papers, but they're not really, they're WGU only type of papers, so I really enjoyed them. The cost for me. So that was one of the biggest reasons. I was like, I do want to go back to school, but it needs to make sense. I've never taken out a loan before. I had no desire to. I had zero debt. So I was like, okay, what school is worth it to put myself into debt? And almost, I'm so fearful of debt. I didn't want to join any program, but I really wanted to go back to school. So the total program cost me about 21, let's just say to 22,000, a total of 22,000 compared to all the schools, private, temporary, accelerated. This is the most affordable program, and it's not available in all states. You'll definitely have to go to the website and see which ones that will allow you to graduate from the school. It says so on their website, but Florida, which is where I'm from, was one of the states. So yay me. Time, 2 years. So I've seen shorter programs, accelerated ones that are like 18 months. This one was 2 years. And I had just finished. I had finished my BSN May or June of 2020. I started this program July 2020. So I jumped right back into school. I started the program and I was part of the second group that started. So there was one group that had started a month before, and they were the first people in the program. And the last reason is it was accredited. It was accredited. I'd be able to sit for my boards, even though it was a new program. So I just was like, okay, if I'm gonna do it, I should do it now. Now that I'm still in the swing of doing the education and getting things done, I was just like, I might as well just get back into it because this is what I want to do. So fast forward, I'm in the program. How does I'll just give you kind of how it goes when it comes to, it was 2 years, right? So there was 4 terms. Each term for WGU is 6 months. So in the first 3 6-month or terms, you have the first term, let's start with the first term. The first term was the core MSN or master's level. It's in a lot of WGU's programs already. That's why I think there's some wiggle room. Some people jumped into this program from others, or vice versa, like jumped out and went into a different program. So I really recommend you guys really use whatever resources you can, including the Facebook groups. I joined a group, I believe it's called WGU D course, I think it's Renegades. I think Renegades is the word. And that group was very helpful because it had to do with all the D courses. Everyone's communicating. And of course, I always say, chat with your program mentor and class instructor to get, but sometimes there's delays. They don't have 100% hours online. These people have certain hours where you can message them and call them, and everything is basically by email or by call, like if you request it, but you have to, schedule it. It takes time. What if you just want one thing before you turn in a paper? It's like, oh, I wasn't sure what they wanted here. You would be able to act like a hint. Of course, nothing that's against their rules when it comes to, didactic, or you don't want to get yourself in trouble, but there are definitely courses out there of people who've taken the similar classes. Even though this was a new program, at least the core program was there. What did that happen? I'm having technical difficulties here. Here we go. All right, so let me do this, see if that'll be helpful. Maybe if that's on. So that was the first term, and I was able to take, I think it was like 11 credits in that first term. I tried to shove everything in because I wanted it to be 2 years instead of 2.5 years. Maybe it would have been more beneficial if I'd have done it 2.5 years, because that last term with your clinicals, it took a lot. That's all that I have to say. It was definitely challenging, but getting into the first term, a lot of classes were the D course main master's program classes, and then at the very end, I was able to squeeze patho in there, and that's when it really got into the nurse practitioner didactic, and it was very challenging. I did pass it, but it was just challenging. Like, it's not going to be easy, these classes, even when you do your full study guide, even if you write everything out, even if you're using all of the resources you have available. I use the books, the online books that came with the class, which is fantastic, but I still need a physical book. So a lot of times I either rented or just bought the book outright off of Amazon, so I'd have a better way to study if I'm like on the go, because I didn't always want to use my computer to study and read off of the, laptop or computer. So fast forward through, because the majority of it is programs and you're finally in the core classes. What can I say about the core classes? When you get past that first term, you don't really have a lot of papers left. Yay. You have a few things you might have to do for the CPE or deliverables, which is like a thing that you have to do to make sure you're like following through the course. But the actual exam classes is just an exam. You just take a test, which can be good or bad, right? So I made sure to schedule my exams and give myself time to study. But in the second term, I think I had 3 exams, 3 classes. It was pharmacology. It was after patho. I know I took I think a full month. I tried to do either 1 month to 3 months to study for each like huge exam. Just whatever works for you. I really don't have a trick to it. A lot of them I thought I did really well on. I never failed any of the classes, but it was definitely not as easy as I thought it was going to be. But we're here. So after you get past the 3 terms of either papers or exams, you get to your clinical. Well, let me go back to the exams. So you get like a practice that you can take. I don't feel like the practice always helped. If I'm talking about this, sometimes it did. It's just a resource, you might as well use it. And that was like the philosophy I had for everything. If there was a resource, if it was free, if it was included, just try whatever you can to really get ahead. But you know you better than anyone else. You know what's gonna help you. If extra questions help. Hey, I got cut off there. But I was just gonna get into the clinical portion of the program. So for me in the last term, which was a term is 6 months. So in 6 months you get 3 classes. So I had 3 clinical classes in 6 months. I had to complete 650 hours with about 4 different clinical sites, 4 or 5, and about 6 or so practice HESI exams. Okay, just wanted to give a visual because I'm a visual person. This is my first term where I completed as many credits as I could in the first term. That was an option. So here, as you can see, it has the end date of when I completed the class, and I completed about 19 total CEUs, or about 7 or 8 classes there. So that was the first term. So my second term, which started in January, consisted of 3 of the other 3P classes: pharmacology, advanced physical assessment, and advanced primary care. So, of course, it's 6 months, January to June, and I would say the toughest class for this term was definitely primary care, but all of them was very challenging, so just do whatever you can to study for all of these classes. All right, so coming into my third term, there was pediatrics, special populations, and health promotions of patients across the lifespan. I would say that pediatric really had to get into the memorization of knowing the warning signs of the growth and development, but this was a little bit less challenging than the second term. I'd say this class, for me at least, was pretty easy when it came to the classes compared to the other 2. Okay, so term 4, we're getting into the last term. This is where I'm going to go to much more detail in the video. So this was my last term. This is where I had all my clinical hours, 650. This is where I had to do the HESIs. Each class had a few HESIs that you had to complete. And this is also where you had to do the online video assessment. I'll try my best to go into detail so you can understand. What can I say about the HESIs? The HESIs, I would say just go ahead and take the HESIs. The HESIs are just supposed to be helpful for you to see how you're doing how you do for the FNP exam. Like, they're just assessment, and they give you a lot of remediation so you can see, so you can improve. That's basically all that the HESIs are there for. It's there for you to study and do better on your actual certification exam. Not to say that they're not important, but they're not as important as your simulation and as your clinical hours. So there were times I was completing those HESIs at like 10 p.m. and they take some time. I think they took about maybe a little over an hour for me. They were quite long, but they're required. Just complete them. They weren't like pass fails, they were more like completion. So those are at the HESIs. The simulation. So the simulation is kind of like this video. So you log in to the site after you've scheduled your exam, and one of the faculty members will be your patient that's checking in for their visit. And you're gonna do your head-to-toe assessment, and you're gonna ask them questions and assess them verbally, of course. Even though it's a video exam or simulation, you're supposed to expect to put your mind in there as if they're in your office. So what I would try to do is like just imagine them in the office setting, fake stuff, and I'll be like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna listen to I'm gonna look at I'm gonna assess this, I'm gonna do everything, your head-to-toe assessment. And then you'll do a focus assessment on what their chief complaint is. So that was really challenging because you really had to use the clinical guidelines. You're supposed to deliver what's expected as a novice or number 2, number 3, whatever clinical rotation that you're in. They expect you to be able to know, hey, you're getting these people in the clinic. If they come in with these symptoms, are you gonna be able to appropriately and accurately diagnose them based on their chief complaint, their assessments, their subjective, objective, based on the appropriate testing? And then you're gonna have to give them the appropriate treatment. So I feel like there was just a lot of, I don't wanna say anxiety, but I was just like, I'm not sure is this correct? There was a little bit more because it's real time and you're supposed to complete these simulations within a certain period of time. And then you're supposed to turn in the paper where you're writing, okay, this is what you're typing it up and you're sending that to your program mentor. And then they grade that. So that was challenging. That was something, but it was good. Like, it definitely helped me learn and you are going to get to the point where you're more comfortable doing that on a daily basis because you're in your clinical rotation. And then there was that's about it. There was clinicals, there was simulation, there was HESI. So I don't want to say like pros and cons, but I do want to say areas of improvement. And I do feel like, like it was a new program. So there's lots of, areas of improvement that I would say. But I think the biggest ones were just communication. There was, in clinical, there was at one point where they're like, oh, my clinical director, who's in charge of my clinical placements, was like, you're supposed to have this many hours. My program director said something different. So I just feel like if there was like a better communication where all that was written out so everyone was on the same page, it would have caused a lot less stress. But I do feel you have to be a little flexible when you have a new program, and I am still like 10 out of 10 happy with the program and where I am today because of it. And something, takeaway, a really big surprise for me was I did go to the commencement ceremony. I mean, what can I say? I paid for the cap and gown. It came directly I ordered the basic. It was really cheap. I didn't order extras. I just got the tassel. I got the cap and gown. It came to me, and I was, I went to the Orlando, Florida commencement ceremony, and I was just above and beyond impressed. They put on just a spectacle. And I went to basically the grad night for the people who graduated, and there's people from all kinds of different programs. I'll drop in like a slideshow of all the pictures that I have from that night. It was very well done, and it was at a really nice, Orlando Conference Center. It was a big center. They had people there. There was food. There was just a really good time. And it wasn't a little bit. Like, there was a significant amount of food there. You really didn't have to eat beforehand. I think the only downside is it happened to be cold, like that weekend, and all the things were outside. But it was really good to see all the people graduating from different programs. And I met a friend, of course, there that I had went through the program with. So that was just such a good time. And the actual commencement ceremony, that was impressive. Like, I've been to graduations before, like my RN, and I do feel like it was more sophisticated than I anticipated. Not saying that WGU as an online program didn't have the capabilities, but they had a celebrity guest speaker. They had really well done people who had, I guess, volunteered or had been picked to have speeches. I was entertained, and I was surprised, and it was really, I felt so special. I really am happy that I was able to go to the commencement ceremony, and I recommend that you do too. I don't have too many other things to say. Oh, another special or a surprise was that my assessment kit, I don't have it with me, but I know I have a few photos of it. When you do your physical assessment, you'll get this little goodie bag, and I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I think it's Wgu products. But my assessment tools, my blood pressure cuffs, my otoscope, my ophthalmoscope, all of those things were top of the line. I'm sure they were like at least at minimum 1,000, like for the total kit. I'm not sure what kind of deal that they got for the program, but I was very pleasantly surprised. It was more sophisticated than other students' tools that either they had to buy their own, or it was like just low budget, like what you would give students. But I used mine at my assessment sites as well, and I did have a few doctors try to nab my otoscope. So I was really just satisfied with the program. But you guys tell me like what you think, like what schools that you went to, or what things that you found at the program that you think could help improve. I'm just giving you my take. I had just completed the program. I know it's months later now. I completed this program in June. Okay, so with all the bloopers, that's all that I have. for this video. Please, if you guys liked it or thought it was informative, or if you have any questions, I tried to anticipate everything by making a very brief video. Of course, you can either just post a comment down below or send me a message and I'll respond back as soon as possible. But give me a like if you liked it. You can give me a thumbs down too if you really disliked it. But I hope if you are going for nurse practitioner school and you were looking around, I hope this video was helpful for you.